Right away, you'll notice that this video is not about taking a motorcycle trip. Rather, this time we're in my truck. Right, Cathy and I are taking a trip up to Maine and New Hampshire just to enjoy a week of traveling and spending some time together. So over the years, I guess as we've gotten older, we've realized that everything doesn't have to be about the motorcycle. What is really important is getting out there and traveling, and as I said, being together. Our first stop on this trip would be to head to Portland, Maine, walk around the downtown area, and visit a couple of places that Cathy had on her list. And of course, one of those was what I'm now told is her favorite shop, Mexicali Blues. And I see why she likes it. It's filled with all those funky kinds of things that she just adores. While Cathy was doing her shopping, I snuck next door to check out the cigar shop. After grabbing a quick bite, we then headed over to Bread and Friends to pick up some pastries for the next couple of mornings. Alright, so we walked around downtown Portland, Maine for a while. Now we'll head to Janet and Peter's. Finishing our ride for the day, we first had to stop and pick up a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. That didn't work out so well.
I asked for vanilla and they made it with caramel. So in reality, they remade it, but actually the caramel tastes better.
Traveling with Cathy. Arriving at Janet and Peter's, we checked out their beautiful property filled with gorgeous plants. So if you guys have been watching my channel for any period of time, well, actually all the way back from the beginning, 2011 when all this started, we took a trip out and stopped in Idaho to see these folks, right? This is Janet and Peter. Janet is Cathy's cousin, right? And her favorite cousin, if you didn't hear that.
My favorite cousin!
But anyway, we stopped in to see them. They're up and living in Maine now, so... Thanks, guys, for having us.
No problem.
We love having you.
Anytime.
Good to see you again, Craig.
Absolutely. All right, so we have to do this video over again because Cathy was in the bathroom.
That's right.
When you get up in the morning to take a shower, but you forget to bring your towel, so you have to use a hand towel. But at least there were rubber duckies to keep me company in the shower. While we're visiting Janet and Peter, we are going to the Coastal Botanical Garden here in Maine to visit the trolls.
Yeah, trolls. Who doesn't love trolls made from all recycled materials?
Exactly.
I like trolls.
The bigger the better.
As Janet mentioned while we were walking in, these trolls are made from all recycled materials by a Danish artist named Thomas Dambo. His goal is to show everybody in the world that you don't have to waste things, that beautiful things can be made from trash. As we continued our walk through this troll-infested forest, we came upon one that I thought was particularly good-looking.
Old people hiking.
Stop it.
After finishing our visit with the trolls, we decided to commune with another mythical creature at the Why Not, which has a decidedly Bigfoot theme. And while I enjoyed the Bigfoot decor, I can tell you why not, because the food wasn't that good. Somewhere during the day, Cathy and Janet picked up these little peace signs, which they just found hilarious. We had a great visit with Janet and Peter, but unfortunately the next morning it was time to move on. So along the way we grabbed ourselves some breakfast and then decided to do something that we have never done before. And that new thing was to drive up the Mount Battie Auto Road. Mount Battie is a 780-foot mountain that overlooks Camden, Maine, and the Atlantic Ocean. So this is cool. We decided to head up Mount Battie here, the Mount Battie Auto Road, just off of Route 1 near Camden, Maine. And never been up here before, and it's pretty cool. Beautiful view, overlooking Camden out here, and then also, of course, the ocean. So here's the history of Mount Battie. During the War of 1812, they used to haul cannons up here to this point to help defend against the British. Right then, about 1867, the property was purchased by a local merchant who thought that this would be a good place for tourists to come. Now, of course, back then there were no cars, so they had a rough carriage road where they could, bring a horse team up to the top. They ended up building a summit house up here where people can stay, and a restaurant and so forth. But as the time passed, cars couldn't end up making it up the hill, right? Horses still could, but cars could not when they were first invented. So the summit house and everything ended up falling into disrepair over the years. But then in the 1960s, about 1964, 65, they decided that they were going to use this spot as a World War I memorial. So that's what the tower is back here. You see, it is a monument to all of the veterans of World War I. Stopping for road work isn't as bad when you're in the truck as it is on the motorcycle.
Agreed.
Our next stop would be at the Penobscot Narrows Bridge and Observatory, as well as Fort Knox, which is right next door. So as we're headed towards Bar Harbor here, there is the Penobscot Bridge and Observatory here, and then Fort Knox is over here. So we've been over here several times and we've never stopped. And I've always said, you know, it would be cool to go up in the observatory of the bridge, because there's these big obelisks that make up this bridge. So Kathy's yelling at me to have fun. So today we said, well, let's stop. And of course, Cathy doesn't like heights, but I'm gonna head up to the top and check this out. So here we are, up here, 40 stories up now. It's pretty cool up here. It's beautiful. It's actually pretty wild up here. This is a big concrete structure, but you can feel the wind moving this thing. It's pretty bizarre. So the attendant back there at the elevator was telling us that there are 4 of these observatory bridges in the world. Right, that 2 of them are in China and both of those are closed. Right, there is one in Slovakia that is open, and then this one. That's the only one in the Western Hemisphere. All right, we finally figured out where to park and how to get into the fort.
That's where to park and how to get into the fort.
Yeah, so I guess now we're gonna do that, go see Fort Knox. Not where the money is, though. Our first stop was the visitor center to learn a little bit more about the fort. What I was reading in there, the fort's really never seen any action. It was built after the War of 1812 because, or it was at least started, it was never actually finished until later on. Because they were concerned that the British and other people wanted to get into the coastal waterways up here in the Northeast, because the British were interested in this area, you know, up and down the East Coast. Well, after the then during the Civil War, there was concern that the South would be interested again in getting into these areas as well, and the British were massing troops up north in Canada, and there was concern that they would hook up, you know, with the South and attack. So again, the fort was then finished and new batteries and so forth were put in. And this kind of was the way that things went up through the Spanish-American War as well. And then finally in the 1920s, right, then the fort was decommissioned and sold to the state of Maine. right, so Cathy and I made it here to Bar Harbor, and we are staying at the Harborside Resort here in Bar Harbor, and a really nice place. I thought we'd splurge a little bit. It's off season, so prices aren't too bad. I'm sure they go up when the season gets a little bit more busy. But again, we're going to go out and find ourselves something to eat, walk around town a little bit. Walking around downtown Bar Harbor, Cathy, of course, found a few shops to go in, and I, of course, found the motorcycles parked along the street. We would then grab some dinner, have a great breakfast at the hotel in the morning, and then it was time to hit the road. Alright, so we had a lovely day yesterday, didn't we?
We did. It was very, very nice.
We rode up here from where we were staying in Bremen, Maine. Only about 100 miles. We managed to make a pretty full day of it. We stopped at Fort Knox, visited that, and I went up into the tower. And said we just had a really lovely day. We got to Bangor, walked around, not Bangor, Bar Harbor. We're headed to Bangor today. So we got to Bar Harbor, walked around a little bit, got something to eat. Said it was just a really, really nice day. The hotel was great.
We went to that other, was that Battie?
Oh yeah, we went up Mount Battie. Yeah,
that was nice
that
too.
was really nice up there too. That's worth a stop.
Do things like spontaneously. Hey, what's this? Let's go check it out.
So today we are headed up the coast from Bar Harbor here. We're going almost all the way to Canada. We're going to end up seeing Jasper Beach, something Cathy wanted to see. It sounds cool. It's a red Jasper Beach that I guess makes sounds when the water comes in. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully the weather will stay reasonably clear for us. But looking forward to another lovely day.
As a true New Englander would say, it was a lovely day in Bar Harbor.
That's right. Here's a tidbit of information for you non-Northeast people. The part of Maine that we're driving through right now, even though it's not that far from the Canadian border, is referred to as Down East Maine. And so all of the coastal region of Maine is typically called Down East. And that's because if you take a look at Maine, it's a huge state. Most of it exists north and west of this area. So we are riding along the coast in Maine, and Maine has all these little peninsulas with all these little seaside towns and things in it. And so I decided to head down and check it out. I've never been down here. Cathy's never been down here. And so far it's a little bit of a bust. I mean, it's a nice little seaside town, but there's not a whole lot to see or anything down here. So we're still together and having a lovely time.
That's right. It's a different way of living. I mean, it's very rural, and there's a lot of sort of houses that are dilapidated and seemingly abandoned, and then there's a nice area where people are kept up their homes, but definitely
it's
old.
Mixed, definitely a mix for sure. That's most of Maine is like that.
Yeah.
All right, back to the driving.
Onward.
So this is why we drove all the way out here to come see this beach. So I'm not sure if you can hear it, but as the water comes over the top of these Jasper stones, it makes kind of this tinkling little sound. And of course the tide is out right now, so we're not getting as much of an effect as we would if the tide was higher. But it's kind of cool to come out here. I hope Cathy's happy. This was her idea. She wanted to come out here and see this. And it's a cool place to come. But it is far out in the boonies.
Well, now we can say we've been to the only Jasper beach. But is it worth it? Yeah, we're on an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, would I make a special trip out here?
No.
No. And it might have been nice if it's a sunnier day and if the tide was higher, but it was okay.
We're together.
There you go. From the Jasper Beach, we would make our way to Bangor, where we would hunker down for the evening. All right, it's morning. Had a good breakfast. And we're off to Rangeley, Maine today. Making our way up to Rangeley, Maine, there wasn't a whole lot to see other than the great scenery. We stuck to the back roads and really had a nice drive. So on our way to Rangeley, Maine today, and in Madrid, or just outside Madrid, Maine, there is this large mosaic sculpture called the Light of the World Cross. It literally is a huge mosaic out of stones and other things that depicts the face of Jesus. And then there is a huge cross that is outlined by all of these pine trees, right, going off in the four directions. So it's very interesting. Quite the project. I believe it was started in 2013, finished in 2015. So here we are in Rangeley, Maine. I had a really nice ride over here, beautiful back roads all the way. A little bumpy though here and there, but overall it was a great ride. We stopped and saw, as you noticed earlier in the video, the Light of Jesus cross. And then we had plans to go to a museum here in Rangeley, the William Reich Museum, which if you go on and read the story, it's quite interesting, but I'll save that for another time when we can actually go to the museum. But unfortunately, once we got here, we found out that they're not open until July.
So that's part of the problem with winging it when you come up this way, is you never know what's going to be open and what isn't going to be open early in the season like this. But the Rangeley Inn is, their restaurant is open, so we're just sitting here going to relax for the rest of the afternoon. I'm enjoying a cigar. This is my father's cigar. It's called The Judge. Excellent cigar. It's a box press. So if you're a cigar guy like me, definitely check this out. This is one of my favorites.
Cathy and I enjoyed a nice dinner that evening in the Rangeley Inn Tavern, and then I got up to have a little coffee in the morning with the stuffed animals.
All right, we are up in Rangeley, Maine today.
Good morning.
And Cathy finally is going to let me film her because she has makeup on today.
Well, you know how it is, everybody. You just don't want to be filmed if you don't look your best.
Yes.
After driving all day in a car.
I'm never my best, so I just don't worry about it.
I know, it's kind of weird because why do men get to look the way they look? And we're supposed to look differently.
It's not us.
I guess not. You're right. It's us.
Anyway, we're going to walk down the hill here and see if we can find some coffee. This little coffee shop is supposed to be open today. And then we'll hit the road, headed towards Gorham. First stop of the day, the Rangeley Lake Scenic Overlook. All right, second stop is they've put up a new overlook on Route 17. I guess that is still Mooselook-McGuntick Lake back there, but get a different view. Now this is the actual height of the land, and you guys have seen this several times in my videos because just about every motorcycle I've had has come up here at one time or the other. And now the truck, I think this is the first time for the Toyota to be up here. But of course it's just gorgeous and it looks different every time.
The height of the land was once again gorgeous, and with all of the new pavement, it made for a wonderfully smooth ride.
Next stop, we're at Coos Canyon. The water's really running today.
While at Coos Canyon, I stopped to talk to a couple of guys with matching Moto Guzzi V85 TTs. Really nice guys, and it turns out they have seen the channel. We made it to Gorham pretty early, so we decided why not just go ahead and ride up Mount Washington. So heading over there, that's exactly what we did. And now having gone up on my motorcycle and in the truck, I can tell you it's much easier to do it on a motorcycle. And Cathy was filming this, but I think about halfway up she had to close her eyes, so I don't think we got that last part when it started getting foggy way up there on top.
freezing up here.
We made it to the top of Mount Washington. Of course, now we have to make it down.
We got our sticker.
But Cathy wouldn't climb the stairs all the way up to the top of the rock pile, though.
First of all, there's like about 1,000 steps. It's raining and it's like 40 degrees and the wind is blowing and it's foggy and you can't see anything. And I don't like heights at all. But I wanted to do this. Thank you for bringing me up here.
You're welcome.
Yikes.
We'll go back down now.
Now get down.
After rising and filling our bellies, we had another great day planned for Friday. We would ride Crawford Notch, which is Route 302, and then we would go to the Flume, which we'll tell you about here in a little bit, and then we would ride back on the Kancamagus Highway, which is Route 112. Now, most people like to ride the Kank, especially on motorcycles, because it's a little bit more curvy. But you cannot beat Crawford Notch for the scenery.
So we stopped here to take a picture of the Mount Washington Hotel, and apparently the Corvette Club is staying there this weekend. All right, so we're walking the Flume Gorge right now, or we're about to anyway. This is something Cathy said she did when she was a child.
Quite young. It was very popular to ride up from Massachusetts for the day. At least I think it was a day trip. I don't remember, but my sister and I were quite young. I don't even remember if my brother was with us. Maybe he was. And it petrified us. Totally petrified us. And I think it's where my fear of heights began. So now, many, many years later, I'm here to conquer my fears.
So if they have to call the mountain rescue teams, don't be surprised.
That's right. Hope to see you again, folks. Yeah, this is the part that freaked me out as a child. Notice I'm staying over to the side.
We didn't make it all the way up.
It's okay.
But she did really good. She made it all the way to those stairs and then had
I
to come
figured
back.
60 years ago when I was a young child I did this, so 60 years later. Now it's getting back up the hill to the parking lot. So we're sitting on a bench taking a break. Craig, is there any way you could give me a little help up this hill?
Sometimes a husband has to do what he has to do.
And a wife has to ask for what she needs. All right.
Bend over.
Woo! We made it.
She made it.
With his help.
On the way back, we stopped at this great little place in Lincoln called Moose on the Run. It's owned by these two ladies, and of course, Cathy was encouraging them to promote the business.
Come and visit us. We're in
Lincoln,
New Hampshire, and say the name of your company, and we're looking forward to seeing you. And then say female owned.
Oh my God.
Or something like yes.
All right. Come and sit.
That's good.
Come and visit us. Moose on the Run Cafe, owned by women. Looking forward to see you.
Where are you?
In Lincoln, New Hampshire.
Excellent.
Right on the Main Street.
Good food and great service.
Well, after doing our part to promote a female-owned business, we jumped on the Kank and headed over the pass. Now, we still had one thing to do before we went back to the hotel, though. And that thing was, of course, to stop in North Conway so Cathy could do a little shopping in some of the quirky shops there. So I sat on a curb and watched the traffic while she indulged her shopping fantasies.
So as I'm sitting here this morning in the hotel, a couple of those old man bitches that I haven't done for a while come to mind. First one is children who are not kept under control, who run around banging doors, stomping till 11 o'clock at night. Right. Yelling, I mean literally banging on the walls, like, okay. Second thing though is older people who act like children. They seem to be both in abundance here this weekend. Although these two things just give me an opportunity to practice some of those stoic virtues and turn internally and remain calm.
So after taking a few deep breaths and practicing my stoic meditations, we got in the car and headed for home. More chances to work on my patience. So they're having some kind of bike race today called Crank the Kank, I believe. And of course it is about 60 degrees out there right now, and it is raining, so I don't envy these guys. So eventually we would make our way down the mountain and onto the highway where we headed for home. And knowing that there was no food in the refrigerator at home, we stopped for some barbecue.
Waiting for our barbecue. We're in barbecue hell. They've only called the one number. It's 10 minutes. So we made it home, having our celebratory barbecue dinner. Another successful trip, right?
Right. It was good.
All right.